And I feel like I let my parents down and those around me down. Things are only serious because we treat them as serious. None of us know what we're doing. And I think that's how I kind of cope with that sentiment. We lose our own motivation sometimes, but not because we don't want it, but because it's convenient.
Highest Version Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Highest Version Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Philavong, and on this podcast, we talk about falling in love with the process of getting better every day and becoming the highest version of ourselves. Today's guest is Jason Kung. My first impression of Jason is that he is a true genius because of the way that he carried me and our friends through an escape room. I mean, he was solving every riddle within 1 second. So it's no surprise that Jason has had a lot of success in his career because of his winner's mindset. Besides being ambitious, Jason loves to explore new things, whether that's travel, hobbies, food, or just anything to make life more interesting. And today, he's here to teach us about how, to remind us that we are our own harshest critic and how we can give more compassion to ourselves. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Jason. What's up, Jason, man? Thank you for coming on. Appreciate you, taking the time and being vulnerable with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a good intro.
I always want to bring an intro that, makes you just have that, giddy feeling, but also good feeling of, hey, this is who you are as a person.
Yeah.
So before we get into the first question, I want to feature the Funko Pop of the episode. I'm a huge Funko Pop fan. As you can see off camera, Jason sees my wall of Funko Pops.
It's very expansive.
I have a problem. So the Funko Pop that I chose for you, and this is actually one of our buddy. I think the first time I'm introducing a buddy Funko Pop, but we have Baymax. Ooh. So Baymax, the reason why I chose Baymax is because Baymax, as you know, is something that's been created to be super intelligent. And again, I view you as someone who's super intelligent. But outside of having the smarts and intelligence is that Baymax is loving and caring to all those around him. Obviously, his purpose and intention is related to medical and health. But again, my first impression of you outside of the escape room was a very caring and vulnerable and just someone that will care for their friends whenever they need to be there. So yeah, man, I just want to get your thoughts on me comparing you to Baymax.
No, I appreciate the comparison. It's a lot to live up to. A robot saving lives. I appreciate the perspective and comparisons. It's something that I try to live up to. Trying to help others and caring about those around me. I think it's very important to me. I'm a strong believer of we are who we surround ourselves with. So I think giving back to that as well, and making sure everyone around me is good, including you.
Appreciate
is very important to me. So
thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that, and your love is very, very felt by all of us. So Jason, this is a question that I ask all my guests, and I think it's a very important one. How is your mental health nowadays?
Pretty good right now, I think. As with most people during the COVID years, it was probably a little shaky, but yes. I think I've been working on my friendships, my relationships, my own physical health, and I think that's all helped with my own mental health. I've been a lot happier than I've been now than I was like 3 years ago during COVID. I think I've been thinking about this recently. I think this year the past year I've built a lot of relationships with people. And I think that has made me a lot happier, and that's something that moving into this year, I want to get to know more people, grow deeper relationships, with you, with others, and I think that has made me a lot happier recently. So
that's awesome, man. I feel like connections, like we're just people at the end of the day, and that connections, learning about other people's lives and their experiences can obviously help us in so many ways,
right?
But also like just, we have one life to live, and why not just get the chance to experience as much as we can. And something that I forgot to announce is that I'm taking your podcast virginity card, man. How does
That's
that
one way to
feel?
put it.
Popping one mic cherry at a time. I know in the intro, like you talked about experiencing new things, and when you agreed to come on the pod, I was really excited because of just how, again, as I was talking before, like the conversations that we've had, and just getting to know you as a person, because I know there's something much deeper and more, profound and just this winner's mindset that you have that I think we can learn from. So I'm happy I'm taking your podcast.
No, I'm happy to be here. Like you said, I think one of my goals for 2026 was to just experience a lot more new things. So, this is one of them. And yeah, happy to be here. And hopefully, we've always had good conversations. And hopefully we can dig deeper a bit.
Oh, yes. We are going to go way deep. So, Jason, the first question I have for you is, what does becoming the highest version of yourself mean to you?
Yeah, to me, it's about setting goals for yourself. I think we all have a perception of who we are and who we want to be. There's a little bit of a fine balance of like, how we ingest that perspective of ourselves. But I think being the highest version is finding a healthy balance of who you want to be and how you want to achieve that, how you want to become that person. We all get inspired by those around us. And I think that bleeds into who we want to be as people. And I think it's, taking the right steps so that we can achieve who we want to be. I think that ties into, making ourselves feel like we can achieve our highest potentials, and also boosting those around us as well.
Mm-hmm. I think there's an element to there that I want to make sure we emphasize on is like when we talk about becoming the highest version of ourselves, I know that can be so central focused on you, on that one person, but being able to also serve in a way where you're also helping those around you is something that doesn't get called out a lot. Right. So I appreciate you like just making that a point of what you think becoming the highest version of yourself means. And where do connections, like how do connections bring an importance to your life? Because that's, not a lot of people will say, not only do I want to work on myself, but I want to make sure those around me are also come up with me.
Right. Yeah, I think, we're all humans. We're all living our own lives, but we're all living our own lives collectively. I think we create our own communities, and we create our own communities in a way that we can learn from, but also that we can give back to. I think for me personally, if I kept progressing as a person, but didn't have anyone around me, that life sounds like it sucks.
For sure.
All the people I grew up with, my friends, my family, I want to see them besides me, as we continue progressing through our lives. It's these connections that we make. It's something that, I don't foresee losing. I don't want to lose. And it's something that, if I feel like I've grown as a person, I want to also make sure that, you feel like you've grown as a person. Otherwise, that way we can collectively be, be better as a community.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. There's this concept of building your village, right? If you are, they say that sometimes success is loneliness at the top.
Yeah.
But if you build a village and those around you that can help you just get to where you want to be, because obviously one perspective is not going to show you a lot. And having a collective experiences and perspectives can really show you like, hey, like this is what I'm going through. This is an obstacle. How can I get through it? And someone's different perspective can really help with that. And that's something that I learned in therapy is that you kind of have to play many different angles to unlearn things in your
Right.
life. If you are constantly having this narrative about being negative about yourself or having a self-sabotage or, whatever it is, you need to just shift that camera to a different angle.
Mhm.
So that way you can open up, hey, like I can be compassionate with myself. It's just maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way. Maybe I'm thinking of this in the wrong way. And just to backtrack, I don't want to say wrong way.
Yeah.
It's more of like what you know at the time, what you think was best. And just differing of what is best for you versus like what's harming you. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that also brings up a good perspective that building up your community also gives you a diversity of perspectives, thoughts, and just people and personalities. These are different people that you can interact with, learn from, and I think selfishly speaking, if I push you to be a better version of yourself, that pushes me to like look at you and see what you've achieved and want to push myself to do the same.
Yeah.
So I think it's all, as long as it's done in a healthy manner, I think it's it's all an upward spiral.
Yes, of course. We want to just bring everyone, the ones that we love the most, up with us.
Right.
So my big first question for you is, what do you feel like has been the goal that you have achieved in your life so far that you're most proud of?
From one thing that comes to mind is, as a kid, I feel like I had a vision of what my life would be. Maybe vision isn't the right word, but like an idea of what I wanted it to be. It's having good relationships with friends, family, having a solid career, and achieving goals within that career and experiencing and continuing to just live life. I think one of my being able to like grow into that. Obviously it's not verbatim what I imagined it to be. I thought I would be a game developer. I'm not now.
Maybe not yet. That's something you want to pursue.
Yeah, that's fallen down the ladder. But I think just having grown into something that a life where I am now, where I feel happy with where I am, I think that's an achievement in itself.
Of course.
And then I think the other thing is the other big achievement that I hit recently, and I'm still trying to hit, still trying to grow towards. I think I was telling you earlier that recently ran a 10K race with some of my friends. And growing up, I was a stereotypical studious kid. I played basketball for a bit, but I quit at some point, and I just like hit the books. And I was a chubby little kid that couldn't even do a pull up, couldn't even do a push up. And I think that I had a lot of doubts growing up of like, I'm just not athletic. I'm just not like physically capable of doing anything. Everything is, all my achievements will just be academic. And I think last year when we started playing basketball again, and we joined a rec league, you and I.
Yes.
I think when I started playing in that league, I realized how out of shape I was.
Don't worry, me too, bro. Me too.
I ran up and down the court and I was like gasping for air. So I think at that point I decided, okay, I need to get back into shape. Even though I never saw myself as athletic, I wanted to be as athletic as I can be. I want to be able to play basketball, run up and down the court without losing my breath. Yeah. Over the past year, I've stayed more active, eating a lot better, eat a lot cleaner. And I think, I signed up for this race because I wanted to force myself to prove to myself that I can do it. It's something that I would never have imagined, 10 years ago that I would ever want to do. But I think just forcing myself to do it and that whole training process, I think I'm really proud of. It felt achievable.
Yeah.
Whereas a year ago it did not feel achievable, and I think being able to just finish that race, I was really proud of. And I think now the next goalpost is the next race that me and my friends signed up for, and that's going to be a whole another journey that I'm going to be working towards.
It's more than double what you currently did. And can we just talk about the race that Jason is talking about is a Spartan race? You know, this isn't just like he's running. Well, first of all, running in itself is hard, but you're doing actively like strength courses as well. Like you're doing all these like different things, and it's not easy for anyone.
But mind you, like if you fail, then you just have to run a little bit more. And I failed like a good amount of the obstacles, but it felt achievable.
Yeah. But yeah, man, that's a huge accomplishment when it comes to the narrative that you had of yourself.
Yeah.
So that narrative of I'm not athletic, like did that develop on your own, or was that someone mentioned by someone? Like how did that narrative even develop in the first place?
It's kind of a combination. I think, you know, when I was younger, I wasn't in shape. I was a chubby little kid. And growing up in an Asian household, you're gonna hear that you're a chubby little kid.
Yeah. Don't make it known. Whatever it is, if you're chubby or if you're skinny, they're gonna it. It's so annoying when they start spitting like just roasting you for no reason.
Yeah.
Like I just got here to say Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Like,
I would go to China having not seen my my relatives for like 5 years, and they're like, "Oh, you got fatter." I'm like, "Thanks."
appreciate it. And you're now taking me to like whatever restaurant.
Yeah, now we're gonna go dim someone and eat some more.
Literally the most contradictory comments that they could ever do.
Yeah.
Man, the Asian culture and how that works it's crazy. It's so contradicting in so many ways. But what was, you obviously had to go through a lot of uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
In that journey. You know, going from someone who didn't have the routine of running and strength training.
Yeah.
What were the obstacles that you had to go through, and was there ever a point where you were like, no, let me just go back to what I'm comfortable with?
I think one thing that helped a lot was I'm a person that like can do things on my own, but I enjoy it more when I'm doing with others. You know, one of the big things was when I graduated high school. A couple of my friends, Vincent and Vincent and Pat brought me and some other friends to the gym, and just said, "Hey, this is how you like work out." And that was a foreign concept to us at the time. And I think that had instilled that in my brain, and I think you know, over the past year, you know, I had some solo workouts, but just talking to people about who are also like in this journey with me, about, you know, what we're doing, what our goals are, and just trying to push each other was really helpful for me. Obviously there are times where I set an alarm at 7 a.m. and I'm like, I tell myself I'm gonna go for a run, and I wake up at 7 a.m. and I hit snooze instead.
Yeah, I've been there, done that.
Yeah, but I think it's about for me, it's about really wanting that goal. I signed up for the races before I even started training to force myself to do this, and I you know, leading up to the race, I wanted to not die at the race.
That's pretty valid. Sure.
Yeah. So that was a really good motivator for me to, you know, just stay consistent and you know, keep up with my training. And you know, I did the race with friends too. I think that was a big part of it, was just like making it enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
The grind is not enjoyable if it's not done with other people to share the experience with. So yeah.
Yeah, the grind with other people. So there's always that question of, would you rather go to the gym alone or would you rather go with people?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, would you rather go to the gym with your friends?
So I would rather go with my friends, except all of them go to the Y now, and I don't go to the Y.
Okay. So if there was a chance that you would be able to, you would choose to go with them. Okay.
But the balance right now is I try to, you know, set up runs with people, just to like go and like run and suffer together.
The best friendships are created from trauma and suffering together.
There you go.
To me, motivation is not powerful enough to get us to our goals. When motivation runs out, what do you rely on?
To my point earlier, there are times where I might feel motivated the day before to go on a run the next day. I wake up, the motivation's not there. What do? I think for me, what has worked is having the right motivations and two, multiple sources of motivations. I think on the first one, having the right motivations. Growing up, I think there were a lot of things that I was doing because my parents wanted me to do it. Maybe you relate. Those things I always ended up quitting. Like my parents signed me up for Boy Scouts, and looking back at it, I think it was a good experience that I had there. But at the time, I didn't want to do it. My parents want me to do it. I ended up quitting because that motivation wasn't right for me. I think for me, it's the motivation has to come internally, and I really want it.
Yeah.
And I think being our own self motivator, I think being my own self motivator, I think is important for me. I don't feel like I want to achieve a goal if I don't want it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think on the other part of having multiple sources of motivation, that's why I like going on runs with people, working out with people, doing activities with people, going out and exploring with people. Physical activity aside, one of my other goals that I wanted to do was, explore new restaurants around Boston. That I spent the last 5 years saving TikToks of restaurants in Boston, and that list has only grown. And I've only been to 2 of them.
Same, man. I have so much saved, and I don't think I've hit any of those.
Yeah. So I think for me, I want to go to them, but I think roping people into that as well, hey, we should go to this restaurant. Then that's also a motivation, because now now they want to go as well, and that pushes me to okay, that's enough justification for me to get out of my bed and go to this restaurant.
Yeah.
Same with running, right? If I run with people and I tell people, hey, we're running at 7 a.m. and they're already awake, and I wake up and I don't want to run, but they're already dressed, I'm like, okay, well, I should go now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time that is, we lose our own motivation sometimes, but not because we don't want it, but because it's convenient, I think.
Yeah.
It's convenient for me to stay in bed. I want to run, but my bed is also comfortable. So if my friend's already out there, okay, well, I'll overcome this inconvenience so that I can, do the thing that I was previously motivated, something that I really wanted to do previously, and I do still want to do. It's just hard, and I'll put in the work to do it.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of moments where your why to things, if it's not strong enough, that's where your behavior and your effort to it will soon to fall.
Yeah,
I think this is a good segue into failures and your relationship with it. So what was your relationship with failure when you were younger compared to now? Is there actually any difference?
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I felt a lot more external pressure in my failures. Mainly because those the failures I can think of are failing something in school, or failing to do something in a club or something like that. And I feel like I let my parents down and those around me down at that point. But I think as I've grown older, I think I do still care about the perspective of those around me, but I think it's a lot more internalized at this point, where if I failed something, I think it's more of a self-reflection. If my parents voice their opinions, they may voice their opinions, and it may affect how I think. But I try not to put too much weight into it.
Yeah.
Unless I truly believe in what they say.
Yeah.
I think at this point though, one of the things that have been important for me is when I do encounter something, for example, the photography example, that's something I really want to do. I didn't end up doing it, and I thought a lot about why couldn't I get myself to just jump into it and learn more about this. And I think I took away what I needed to take away, and I just moved on. I think at the end of the day, I that's just one example of something that I've quit or feel like I failed myself on. But I think it was important for me to not take it too seriously, learn from it, and just move on. Because otherwise, I feel like I would dwell on it a lot, and I would dwell on it a lot without having learned anything new. And just dwelled in the sentiment that I let myself down. And instead of doing that, I think it was important for me to just move on. I'll do it when I need to do it. It's not that serious, and I'll learn about myself. And going to my next endeavors, I'll take those learnings with me.
It's so interesting that you use the phrase of not taking it seriously.
Yeah.
For me, when I think about mistakes that I have made, I'm not sure if this was taught or if this is something that I did by myself, but I've internalized the shit out of whatever the experience is. I like to say I have a very vivid memory of my mistakes, and they play like a movie in my head.
Yeah.
So how, this is a selfish question for myself, how can I not take these mistakes or things that I regret not so seriously so that I can move on?
Yeah. I think for me, it's, and I can talk about my experiences. I think there are definitely situations that I've experienced in the past where, I was, in school, I was part of a group, and there was a lot of drama, and it blew up, and that has affected me a lot, and had me reflecting on who I am as a person, and I treated that as a failure in my ability to garner a community at that point. I think what was important for me is that with time, it's been 8 years at this point. The perspective that helps me is that things are only serious because we treat them as serious. We all make mistakes. We are all hard on ourselves. Having my perspective that everyone is sharing the same experience and going through the same things helps me a lot and helps me cope a little bit. I think one of the things that I'm hard on myself on sometimes is why did I do this? Why am I like this? I think it's helpful for me to know that others are experiencing similar things. And then at the end of the day, none of us know what we're doing. And I think that's how I kind of cope with that sentiment is if it was a fact that you knew what you were doing and I didn't know what I was doing, I would be hard on myself to think about what is wrong with me. But I think just the perspective that no one knows what they're doing, helps me realize that we're all just here to live our lives. We're all going to make our mistakes. Things are serious sometimes, but we can find the things that we need from it and move on from it, and not let it define who we are. I think we're all trying to navigate, and I think that perspective helps me cope a little bit more and live a bit more in a way that I don't know how to put that.
like more freeing a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah. It's so hard because as I was listening to what you were saying, I have an insecurity of taking life too seriously.
Right.
There's been a lot of moments in my life where people are like, dude, I was joking, like don't take it too literal or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like trying to bake that into like my own process of letting go of my past, letting go of mistakes that I've made. And it's really hard, man. It's really hard to not take that seriously. And you said like obviously, you know, some things we should be taking seriously.
Yeah.
It just sometimes it feels like no one else has also experienced what I've experienced. So because of that, and I know like, you know, it's kind of diving into like victim mindset of like, you know, why me, why that? But the really difficult part is just like why shouldn't I put a lot of emphasis on this? You know, you've hurt people, you've, you know, hurt yourself, I think it's mostly like you've hurt people. So why we can't, like my brain's like, we can't let this get brushed under the rug.
Right.
Because if you do this again, you'll be outcasted like how you were that one time.
I think it is really valid that we have unique experiences. And I don't discount that. I think what does help me though is knowing that maybe the situations aren't always the same, but for me, like knowing that others have felt the same things. All of our situations might be different, but we know how we feel in certain scenarios, and that sentiment. There's 7 billion people or 8 billion people in the world. Someone's probably experienced it, and probably a good amount of those people have experienced those feelings and those sentiments. And I think just again knowing that we're all learning how to deal with this, like we might be hard on ourselves because we feel like there's an expectation that we should know how to deal with it. But I don't think anyone knows how you're supposed to deal with it. I think that helps me just to know that those expectations aren't really there.
Yeah.
You know, like we can take our time. It's not that serious in the way that, you know, we need to figure everything out. We can take our time, I think. Yeah, I don't know if you feel that way. Of, you know, your like, do you feel like the feelings and the experiences and abstract that you have is something that you can relate to with others? Yeah, I'm curious to hear your.
Yeah, I think for sure that you can definitely have it be related to what other people have gone through. Like there's like traumatic, like in my head, it's a very traumatic experience.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean no one else has gone through the same traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And it could be, again, my brain works in extremes, right?
Yeah.
Because it works in extremes, it takes the bad as like really bad.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't take the good as even good. It takes the good as this is what your level of expectation is.
Yeah.
And what you're supposed to be doing. So yeah, I mean, just to share some of them, it's like, I broke up with my ex in high school, and this is a very long time ago. And, you know, hearing how she reacted with, you know, many tears, and, you know, that still reigns free in my head. Same thing with, just like a lot more of situations with friends and drama where I may have caused it, didn't intend to. I think a lot of people go through friends drama as well. So it's like, I don't think it's anything unique per se. I think because I'm filtering or playing it in my head multiple times, that it's a movie that never leaves the theater.
Yeah.
And all that to say is like, I think my mind is starting to open up more, but hey, like, you know, other people have also gone through this, like you were saying. I think it's also just letting go, like, hey, these aren't things that people have not gone through, and you don't have to figure it out by yourself.
Right.
It's gonna take time, and I'm very impatient as a person of like, that thing about healing takes time.
Yeah.
I never believed in it until
really,
until time actually passed, and I was like, okay, I understand. but also there's part of me, right? Those things that happened that I just told you happened 7-8 years ago. Like it's like time has passed and I haven't healed, and it's like that's where I'm like I should be taking action to do it. And if I don't, I can't just sit there and be like, why am I not sad anymore? I mean, why am I still sad? Or kind of that why me mentality.
What's the like you mentioned, it's been 7-8 years and you feel like you haven't fully healed yet. Do you think it's for you, is it the feelings that are still lingering that you don't want to linger anymore? Or do you think it's you wake up in the middle of the night one day and you're like, you randomly think about like something you said 5 years ago, type of thing?
I think it's just more of the feelings,
the
feelings of it and wanting to let go. I'm pretty sure those people that were involved are way beyond it. It's not like they're holding it against me. And maybe that's what it is. It's like I'm afraid those people are still holding it against me when I don't think anybody really is. If anything, I'm the one that's still holding it against myself. Yeah. So I think because of the certain situations that I just talked about with friends and drama and just those things that still stick with me to this day, I've learned that I have this insecurity of how people perceive me. And I know I can't control other people's perspective on me, but I think growing up in an Asian household where they say your reputation matters and being the model minority, it's hard for me to not care, you know?
Yeah. I think that point of you can't control how others, what others think, what others perceive of you. Like you can influence it, but that's all you can do. I think that is an important point. I'm curious how you cope with that idea.
Right now, the best that I can do is to understand or go back to who I am as a person. And that is like, well, what do I think actually is the best way of conducting? If someone were to come up to me and saying, hey, you're a bad person, or you kick dogs. And it's like, that's just noise that I know it's not true. Yeah. But someone else is having it. So it's like, if I know what my truth is, and not a delusional truth, that is what I feel like will help with that thinking of that I worried so much about how people perceive me. And to add on to that is, but right now with how my brain is being conducted, it's such a habit and initial reaction of, well, why don't you like me? How am I not likable to you? Because I feel like in my younger years, like I was a very likable person, and I hope I continue to be till this day.
I think you are.
Thank you. Appreciate it. But I think I'm, again, taking my brain to the extremes. I'm magnifying that one. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people are like, well, you're on a global platform now. How are you going to do it? Yeah. I think it's just learning how to take that magnification and minimizing it. So that way I can focus on the majority of people saying all these good things about me versus like that one bad thing,
So from what it sounds like, you're saying it's about filtering out what you think is worth putting weight on. Like what criticisms align with your truths, and if they do align with your truths, those are the ones that you should put weight on. And anything else is just noise. Is that kind of?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just like if a random was, just saying, hey, like you're boring or whatever. Yeah. I'm like, well, I don't know you like that. But if someone that I genuinely care about has a perception of me, of who I thought was, hey, like I'm good friends with, and if they're like, oh, you suck at this, or you're not, or you're a terrible podcast host, and it's like, all right, well, I have to. I'm like taking a lot of weight into that, and letting it affect me versus a random person. So yes, it is filtering the noise, I guess you would say.
And what do you do about the ones that you do have to put weight on, and that you think align with your truths? There are perspectives that you can't control, but you feel like it's important enough for it to hold weight on you. Like what do you do with those?
I think in an ideal situation, if I do know that person and have a
Yeah.
good enough relationship, asking them, why do you have this perception of me? Did I do something? Was there an event that may have been misunderstood?
Yeah.
And having that difficult conversation of confrontation.
Mm.
And I'm saying ideally, I think I would react in that way.
Yeah.
Friends, please don't start going after me and having me to confront this. But that's something I feel like I have a difficult thing that I have to do to understand.
Yeah.
Because what if I did fuck up? What if I did do something wrong that I didn't know I did wrong?
Yeah.
And if I want to continue a relationship with that person, to ensure that, hey, like, sorry if I crossed a boundary, or sorry if I came off in a certain way, but my intention is always from a positive and good manner, not from, hey, I want to hurt you specifically,
Yeah, that makes sense. It's the ones that we put weight on, we try the best we can to work on that. Improve ourselves or help improve the relationship with that person.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
So I think I want to move on to something else that we kind of brought up here and there, and it's expectations of ourselves. And I know in the beginning of my intro, I said, we're going to talk about how we are our own harshest critics. First of all, how high are the expectations that you have of yourself? And what's your relationship with your internal pressure?
I kind of mentioned this earlier of we are who we surround ourselves with. And I think looping that back into, growing up in an Asian household, growing up with the expectations that are instilled upon me, I think that has, I grew up having to learn how to navigate that. And now I think into adulthood, there's still some of that where, you probably feel the same of, your parents have their expectations of you, and we're working on navigating, like, oh yeah, which ones are just like, yeah, whatever, it's just parents.
Yeah.
And which ones are like, okay, this is like good advice that I should strive towards. I think one thing that I struggle with is understanding what I'm capable of and what I can strive to become, and dealing with the fear that I'm not doing enough to be the best that I can be. And I think a lot of that, it comes from, seeing how successful like my sisters are, some of my friends are, and putting those expectations that, like, oh, they can achieve it, maybe I should like strive to achieve that as well. It might be some like random things, like my sister won some award, she was published in the medical field, and that made me think, oh man, why am I not published? Or like both my sisters achieved higher education, that makes me think, oh, am I not fulfilling my potential by achieving higher education? And I think it's those. There are always like the thoughts that come to mind of, am I doing enough? And I think ultimately, and it's still something I'm working on, but I think ultimately where I'm navigating towards is those may be things that I could probably do if I really just like hard pivoted my life to dedicate to that.
Yeah.
But is that what will make me happy? Is that what I really want to do? And I think that goes back to the original, the other point of, having the right self-motivation. If I really wanted to pursue higher education, I would quit my job today and I would pursue higher education.
Right. Yeah.
But I haven't done that. Part of it, I think part of it is, learning to be happy in knowing that I've made these choices to like, not do that. Maybe I could do that, but I don't want to do that because I think, this is what I want to do. Like my current trajectory is what I want to do, and this is how I want to stay happy.
So has there ever been a moment where you haven't met, one of your high expectations?
I know I just gave the higher education example as something that like, oh, I don't want to do. But I think when I was in school, that is something I like legitimately thought that would be my future at some point. I think for me, one of the things that I had reflected a lot on and that I think about a lot and I'm still trying to work through is I think when I was in school, being surrounded by a lot of people who were super ambitious, I wanted to do one of those things of, I want to get my PhD and become a professor, or I wanted to start my own company, or I want to be an entrepreneur, or I want to, be at the forefront of like my field. And I had that ambition. And I think nearing my graduation, and then once I did graduate during COVID, I'm gonna I'm gonna blame everything on those period of time. Only slightly kidding.
It was a hard time. It was a hard time for everyone.
Yeah, only slightly kidding. I feel like that like killed a lot of my motivation. Where I didn't become an entrepreneur. I didn't become a professor. I didn't become like the forefront of my field. And that's something that like stays in the back of my mind sometimes of like, what could I have done if I had that motivation still?
Yeah.
Would I have my own company today? Would I be doing something else today? Would I be doing some like cutting edge research? And I think that goes back. I think tying that back into what I was saying earlier is I ultimately realize I am happy with what I'm doing now and learning to live with that decision that I'm, maybe in the future, in the future I'll pursue some entrepreneurial like opportunities, but I am happy with where I am now. And I've learned to live with that decision that I didn't do that right out of college. I see that as like a failure in myself sometimes of not being able to achieve the potential that I thought I had at that point. But again, I think we're all living our lives. We're all trying to learn to navigate our lives, me included. And then I think, maybe that's somewhere in my journey. It's just not now. And that's something that I'll navigate towards eventually, maybe.
You made a big decision in terms of the two things I think are fighting within us, which is ambition and contentment. What influenced you to make that decision of, hey, like I'm happy where I'm at. Let me just experience or live life in the present, and then if the opportunity does arise again, like you said, like I will in the future. How do we balance ambition and contentment?
For me, I think what it comes down to is seeing where I'm at with my life now, and seeing what my current goals are in my life, and seeing everything holistically. I could quit my job today and just like try to like do a startup, right? And I haven't done that. And I think for me, it's because my current goal is one, to just be happy, experience life, but also like build the relationships around me and like build out like a community and a foundation with where I'm at now. I think if my goal were to pursue those ambitions I used to have, I think that would be in contention with my goals now. If I really just quit my job, grinded to try to start my own company, let's say, or went back to school and just grinded, I think that would have to come at the cost of maybe like hanging out with some friends, or meeting some people, like going to travel to some places because I'm working on something else at that point. I think that was the big decision maker for me.
I think it's always realigning what your priorities are in the current state,
right?
And that's a great way to balance ambition and contentment. It's like, what is important to you right now,
right?
But always still having that high achieving mindset that, that someday will happen. But I think it's important to build that community and, like I said, that village,
Right.
so that you have a foundation of people to lean on when things kind of do go rough. And
Right.
those, with any journey of ambition, that's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I'm like still learning too, where when I was in school, I might be spending more time like studying and learning and doing homework and PSETs than I did hanging out with friends. And I think that's something that I had started learning more recently, is how important my friendships and my relationships are to me. Especially again with my friends, with my family as well, and trying to build up those relationships. That I think I've realized recently that that's something I want to do. And then I think to your point earlier, the things that I used to want to do, I can still do them in the future. It doesn't mean that I'll never be able to do it. It just wasn't part of my journey at that point. Maybe it's part of my journey in the future. The future is a million branches. We'll see which one we go down.
Yes. The time, there is no secret timeline that we're supposed to follow.
Right. Exactly.
Well, Jason, I just want to say, thank you for honestly bringing this amazing experiences and profound moments of your life, and just the mindset that has helped you to your definition of success. And I'm so glad that I've had this opportunity to just have this further one-on-one conversation with you and get to know you, and hopefully you got to a little bit know about myself and what keeps me up at night, what drives me every day. But I just want to say thank you for everything, man. And I know in the beginning, before we even filmed, you were like, I don't know if I'm gonna say anything profound or inspirational. I can definitely say you've have said things that will resonate with me, and I know have resonated with your viewers. So thank you, man.
Appreciate it. And again, thanks for having me on. I think I've appreciated learning more about you, but also I feel like you let me learn about myself. So being able to dig a bit deeper, I think is something that is helpful for all of us. It makes me learn about myself and reflect a bit more on myself.
Yeah. Good. I hope every podcast episode I have is everybody's therapy session.
Yeah.
All right, man. So let's get into questions from the audience. And this is a question that's actually for both of us. Sorry, it's in such a small font. I have to read this up to
my glasses.
Maybe. So high expectations is a listed topic that I put for us. Personally, when others express compliments or admiration to me, and I'm talking in the voice of the person who asked, I internally feel expectations being created. Do y'all feel similarly? If so, how do you deal with those thoughts? If not, is there advice you give to someone struggling with this thought process?
I think that's definitely something I go through as well. I don't mean this in a way to make you feel bad or self-conscious about anything, but I think when you were saying when you were complimenting me about your perspective of how I was smart enough to just solve escape rooms and stuff like that, I think that is a legitimate expectation I put on myself that comes from others. I think I think others perceive me in this way, so I feel like I need to fulfill that image of that. I think part of it has to be do I want to fulfill that image?
Right.
And I think it is. I take that as a compliment, and I appreciate your compliments. And I think that I just want to work hard enough to be able to fulfill that. If it is something that I do think is a bit of pressure at points. I think this kind of goes back to the other thing I was saying about feeling like I'm not fulfilling my potential sometimes. I feel like others might have perspective that I can do more because, they might, oh, you're so smart. you can like solve this thing. You know, you're so smart, you can go like get your PhD. Yeah, for example. Yeah, that's something like my dad would say.
Right,
like,
right, yeah.
why aren't you getting your master's? Why aren't you getting your PhD?
Yep.
And I think it's a matter of learning how to navigate that. What do I want to do? Like, I appreciate the compliments. I'll take the compliments and I'll set that as an image that I should work towards. But also, what are the boundaries in which I want to work towards that? Maybe for me that means and that's still something I like struggle with and navigate and I'm learning to navigate. But maybe for me that means I won't get my PhD, but I'll go to an escape room and I'll solve some, you know, with friends, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I think when people compliment me, even though I don't internalize it, for some reason I will put that expectation on myself.
Yeah.
I think there's an importance about narrative.
Yeah.
The narrative that you have of yourself. And when we're younger, the way that develops is other people are giving you these labels. And when we're younger, we just easily accept those labels, I think.
Yeah.
But then as we grow up, we try to understand, like you were saying, creating those boundaries of what does that mean? Not that what does that mean, but do I want to internalize that? Do I want to accept that as a characteristic or trait of myself?
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like when we're younger, we don't have a choice. But as we grow older, we do. And the question of, I think it was, how do you deal with those thoughts? I think, first of all, it's praise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if it's a compliment, which I think compliment or admiration, like, internalize it in terms of like, because we are our own harshest critics, you know, that's the theme of today's episode, is because we are our own harshest critics, getting these compliments, I know it's hard to unlearn, but to internalize it and be like, oh, I do have some worth here. Not to say your self-worth should be based off of what other people tell you. I think it's more of, hey, do I believe this myself?
Yeah.
And making that part of your narrative.
Yeah.
When people are, you know, saying how I create like a safe space, you know, that's something I pride myself on. And that's something that I didn't know until someone told me.
Right.
I think in terms of, hey, like, you know what you said to me before, you said, oh, your arms look big. Those are something that I really bog down. And I think it's because like I don't feel it myself. So I need to believe it in order for it to become part of my narrative.
Right.
And in the situation where he said, if not, is there advice you give to someone struggling with the thought process?
Just can you repeat that part?
Yeah. So he said that if you don't feel like you create an expectation based off the compliment of yourself, is there advice you give to someone struggling with the thought process? I think that question phrased in another way is, why can't I accept compliments?
Right.
And I think I kind of like touched on that, is like, it's because I don't believe it myself. And in order, the steps to for me to believe it is to have those conversations with myself. I feel like on a daily basis, I have a lot of conversations with myself.
Yeah.
Of my whys. Do I believe what these people are saying or not?
Yeah.
And just understand at the end of the day, the compliment or the admiration is out of praise. There's a reason why they're saying it. It's not like someone saying it just to say it, you know?
Yeah. I think that's a good point. At the end of the day, like a compliment is because someone wants to like give you a thumbs up for like all the work that that you've put in to achieve something or become who you are. But I think you also bring up a good point that there's an internal balance that has to happen. Of there might be some times where someone says something and you don't actually truly feel it, and then at that point it's a matter of how do you deal with that. Kind of like what we were saying with the other with some of the topics, it's a matter of being able to filter out, like, what do we put weight on, what do we care about. Like maybe if someone said to me, I'm 5'7", if someone said, oh, you're so tall, and I'm like, Okay,
Yeah, you're
whatever.
ready. Yeah.
You know, like you're just lying. You know?
Yeah,
I don't believe it, and I don't care about it.
Mhm.
You know, so I don't put much weight on it, and I'm not. But if someone says, "Oh, you're such a kind person," and I don't feel like a kind person, but I want to be a kind person, and I want to put weight on that, then I think that going back to the point of motivation, maybe that for me is a motivation for me to try to live up to that expectation, try to live up to that image that someone might already have on me, but I don't have of me, but I want to have of me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think me and you are trying to ensure that, hey, whether it's a compliment or insult, there's a certain way to process these things.
yeah,
And at the end of the day, it's like, what do you care about the most?
yeah,
What do you value in your life to create this narrative that you have internally?
yeah,
And I feel like that's something I wished I knew sooner, was
Mm.
that build your narrative early about who you are as a person. Yes, it's going to be ever changing, but those times when people insult you or
Mm.
give you labels just to give you labels and
Yeah.
judge, that you won't give into it because you already have this narrative
Yeah.
that you have of yourself. But I do understand also that's hard in high school and
Yeah.
that stuff. Like
Yeah.
you're trying to figure that out,
yeah.
but you don't know what the right questions are. You don't know what things to try.
I think I really like your word choice of building a narrative. You know, you're not, and I like that word choice better than building an image. Building an image means you know who you are, and none of us know who we are.
Yeah.
Narrative is a journey. You know, we know who we might know aspects of what we want to achieve, and maybe some of who we want to be. We know who we were previously, and I think it's about being able to, to your point, shape that narrative into how we go from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a guest that was on, one of my good friends that should come on. She's like, I've asked her the question of how do you deal with, judgment about people about you. She's like, I've had a blueprint of who I am as a person at a very young age. So I don't care what anybody says. I'm like, wow.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, cool. She said, she sees malleable and adaptable in it.
Yeah.
But she's like, I've always understood that the blueprint of my life is super important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I think that I envy.
Yeah.
People to do that, but I think like that's great. But I think there's a lot of people who also might see that and feel like they be really hard on themselves. And you can put this on if you don't, but
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are hard on themselves because they feel like they need to know who they are. Because they might think other people might know who they are. But I think it's also important to know that there might be some people who know exactly who they want to be, but there are a lot of people who are also going through the same thing, where I'm trying to figure out what I value in my life and how I'm going to achieve that. Still to this day, you probably feel the same way.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah. I think we're always evolving. There's always a version of ourselves that we want to continue changing.
Yeah.
And just because you set a blueprint for your life, doesn't mean it always has to go to. It doesn't mean it always has to go to plan or go how the plan is.
Yeah.
Be malleable, be adaptable, and just love every version of yourself, no matter if it's at rock bottom or at your highest. There's always something to forever define yourself, and it's something that you won't achieve, I think, ever, which is fine.
Yeah.
Understanding what version of yourself that you want to be.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Jason, I want to get into the last 3 questions. These are the last 3 questions that I feel like can leave a final impact on our viewers. So the first question I have for you is, what's the best advice that you've ever received?
My manager told me this recently, and I thought about it a lot, and I think it's also applicable like outside of work, and it's that whenever you're faced with a scenario or a situation and you don't know how to deal with it, have someone that you look up to and think about what they would do in that scenario, and try to emulate that. That doesn't mean whatever they would do is the right thing, but it at least gives you the experience to try that out. Give you a starting point of like, try that out, put yourself in that mindset, put yourself in that perspective. And I think that was helpful for me because obviously he said it in a work environment where he said, oh, if you're faced with this problem, try to think about like someone who's more senior than you and how they would deal with that scenario, and that would help you naturally grow. And I hadn't really thought about that. I think just like, even in your personal life, if you're in some situation that you've never encountered, maybe I'll think about, for example, maybe someone comes up to me and wants to start stuff with me and my friends, or like something like that. I've never like dealt with that situation, but I can imagine some of my friends, who can deal with that situation, and I can imagine what they would do. And maybe like I can emulate that and become that, use that as a motivator to like, or as a blueprint for like how I should deal with things. And I think that was, it seems kind of simple, but it was like very powerful in its simplicity, that I hadn't really thought about. And I think, similarly, if you have goals, if you want to achieve things, emulate the people that are already at the top. Think about what they would do, and also choose the right role models for you. But but choose those role models and then emulate them, and then it'll help you like grow. Maybe you might not necessarily grow into them, but you'll grow from the experience of like doing what you think they would do, and then figuring it out on your own and growing to your own person in that discipline.
I love that. That's something my boss also says to me.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, like, I'm out of office, or think about what I would do in this situation, or proposal of ideas. So I love that. My second question is, what's something you wish you knew sooner in life?
The perspective that my parents are humans trying to navigate their own lives. I think I've recently started growing into this perspective because I realized that I'm nearing the age they were when they came to the US. And then my sisters are around the age when they had her. And I look at my sister and I realize she doesn't know what she's doing. I look at myself and I realize I don't know what I'm doing. I think growing up, we all think our parents know what they're doing, and we all think our parents like maybe giving the best advice, because what they say is law. I think having developed that perspective that they're also trying to navigate things has helped me navigate, some of the things they might say. They might say that I should do this thing or the other. And I think what I've learned to interpret that as is, this is what I think you should do, and not this is what you should do. This is what I think would be best for you. Like, they don't know for sure. Because if I were to give advice to someone else, I don't know for sure. I can give them my experiences, but I don't know. I think that has helped me with that, and also the other thing that's helped me with is just building a better relationship with my parents. I think them telling me what to do back then has, I think a lot of people grow up with this, is it causes some tension in between your relationship with your parents. But I think that perspective that they are also just humans experiencing life has helped me realize that I shouldn't be as harsh on them when they might say the wrong thing, or they might have different opinions, or they ask me to do something. Like if I were in their position, I would be doing the same thing potentially. And I think that has helped me not put as much emotional weight on negative emotional weight as I used to in those scenarios. And I think that has helped me just ease off on having that negative emotion towards certain scenarios and just building a better relationship with my parents.
Yeah, as we grow up, we soon see them as people too, versus like authoritative figures, and have that resentment. I've gone through that journey too. And now I've definitely have a better relationship with them. Yeah. Understanding that they came to a new country, didn't know what to do. They're like, well, this is the way it was back in my home country, but there's ways of American living that I don't understand that my kids want to do, but I feel like that's wrong, you know? My last question. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think it's also interesting because I think they might have a flip side of that perspective where they are now seeing you as an adult, as opposed to just their child. Like, you'll always be their child, but they also now see you as an adult. Like, my parents would now more often than not ask me for advice on things, and I now see myself seeking them for advice on things because I'm around the age where they started experiencing the things that I'm experiencing, I think that has built a better, like, collaborative, maybe that's not the best word, but no, that's not the right word either.
It's just like a normal people relationship.
Normal relationship.
Yeah. Versus that, like, authoritative. And yeah. And my last question to you is, what can we be more compassionate about with ourselves today?
From my experience and just who I am as a person, I think what has helped me is just not being too hard on myself. I think it is important to be a little bit hard on yourself, just so that you can keep yourself accountable, you can give yourself the right motivations. But if I don't achieve something, so be it, learning to live with those decisions, and not hating myself for those decisions, and continuously moving forward rather than like hating what I did in the past or hating who I was in the past. I think that has helped me, and I think I, as a person, and just a person who just doesn't take life as seriously, I take things as they go, and I think that has helped me live in that manner a bit better, and it's been helpful for me to not dwell on the past, dwell on my mistakes. I will wake up sometimes at 5 a.m. like, why did I say that? Or why did I do that like 5 years ago? But it's also important for me to find the humor in those things of like, that was kind of funny.
Yeah. Sometimes we do have to laugh at ourselves for sure. Yeah. Well, again, thank you, Jason, so much for coming on and sharing your experiences. Yeah. Guys, if you liked any part of this episode, please make sure you clip it, tag me and Jason in it. And as always, let's fall in love with the process of getting better every day, becoming the highest version of ourselves. Love y'all.